Welcome back. When we got off last time, Seattle had just kicked a field goal to cut into that lead that Philadelphia had. We kind of watched the end of the game together. A lot of questions leaving the game. A few questionable decisions down the stretch made in this game. What did you think about the late touchdown by Seattle and then the following possession by Jalen Hurts and the Eagles?
I it was a head scratcher all the way around for this game with Philadelphia. I thought this was after the, you know, 3 weeks before in a row that they've had, Buffalo, San Fran, Dallas. I really thought they'd come out swinging and putting it to Seattle this game, but they struggled mightily. Obviously, before this game, they demoted Sean Desai from DC and promoted Matt Patricia, which after that news came out, it didn't really give me any warm fuzzies because we've seen what Matt Patricia's been doing ever since the Detroit days, um, and it hasn't been, pretty for him. So that I'm starting to really what it comes down to is I'm really starting to question the legitimacy of Nick Sirianni. And I was doing so before last year, even before they became like this powerhouse. But you had to give him his respect after last year and how dominating they've been, and especially with Howie Roseman putting that team together last year and this year, making moves that are necessary to keep them in that Super Bowl window. But the way it's going right now, I don't think this. I think they're worse than last year. They don't look like the same team, even though they're pretty much the same on paper. And it's kind of looking like these past few weeks are starting to get inside their heads, inside that locker room. It's finger pointing going on, a lot of blame game. And I think we're starting to see kind of a self destruction of Philly as we know it. And I'm not saying that they're going to be, one of those teams like LA that needed the Chargers that need to tear it down and build it back up. That I don't think that's the case at all. I just think that you have so much success and you're so dominating like last year. You let it get to your head a little bit. You think you're kind of untouchable, unbeatable. Then you start to have a few rough weeks, and to me, they don't have that tough makeup and mental toughness that a team like San Fran does. Because we've seen San Fran have three rough weeks in a row this year. But look at them now; they look just as dominating as before, maybe even more so. And I don't think Philly's made up that way. And I think it starts with the head coach and it starts with the quarterback. I do like Jalen Hurts a lot and his matureness, but is he mentally tough? Can he handle adversity well and battle back from it? I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. He looks worse than last year. Not an MVP candidate, not even close to it. And it looks like he's taking a step back. So uh, I don't know. Now I will say that game-ending interception.
Bonehead.
You had two timeouts left, 13 seconds left. I think you're at your own 45-yard line, so you don't need much to get to your kicker's career long, which is 61 yards. And you take a deep shot down the right sideline, just a bonehead move, and that's the stuff I'm talking about with Jalen. I just don't think he's got the makeup there mentally yet, because that's not a smart play. And while I do, when I look at the replay and when I saw the replay live, I don't think that was an interception. I think it was too close to call. And to me, on camera, you couldn't even see that toe hit a blade of grass or blade of turf. There was you could still see just the slightest opening between toe and turf, in my opinion. And you got that replay, and they chose not to overturn it, so it is what it is, and it's a loss. But um, this was a hell of a game by Seattle, though. I mean, they're still in the hunt for playoffs. Who would have thought, Geno being out, that a guy like Drew Lock, can go in and beat a team like Philly? I mean, the dude's been balling out the past couple weeks, and he's playing very good football and not turning the ball over, and that's all you can ask for from a backup. And like I said, while Seattle might be, average or have down years, you can never truly count them out because Pete Carroll is one of the greatest coaches I think we've seen. He's up there with Tomlin and Belichick and all those guys. While he might not have the quantity of rings that you'd like to see, but I mean, he's got one. He's been to multiple Super Bowls, but he gets the most out of his guys. He's on the older side of things, but he stays youthful every single year. He treats the guys as equals. He does. He's not a hard no. I mean, he asks a lot from his guys, but he's not that beat you up, tear you down type of coach. He's uplifting, and I think a lot of these younger guys really like that out of him. And like he's constantly running up and down the sideline, chomping on that bubble gum. You know, he's always got a smile on his face. I mean, it looks like he's truly a coach that a lot of people would want to play for, and I think that's what it comes down to with these Seattle teams always being in these games. So credit to them for being in the hunt still, and we got a tight race going into the last 3 weeks of the season for this NFC wild card, and it should be fun to watch.
No doubt about it, man. Coming into the game, we did have our concerns about Philly. I think obviously no team is perfect, so the lack of pass attack or the lack of defensive passing defense is a concern, but it's probably something that you can overcome at some point in the season, whether you scheme up easier passing completions or your running game is dominant to a point where the passing doesn't need to be more than game managing level. But things that we don't really see teams overcome are receivers and quarterbacks arguing, receivers arguing for the ball, complaining about turnovers. Those are things like we've seen in Buffalo, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen. They seem to be turning it around now, but obviously there's no AFC championship games in their past. Doesn't look like there's going to be one in the future. I'm just going to keep my eye on that. To your Sirianni point, I know earlier in the season I did have him as a coach of the year candidate. Um, but yeah, at this point, with all that talent you have over there, things just aren't clicking. And they haven't been clicking for the past month. And it doesn't really seem like you're changing your formula to
No,
better the situation over there, which is a big problem.
and like you said before, without that tush push play, What are we looking at here?
Yeah, we touched on it at the very end of last episode. The tush push, the defensive coordinator change. I mean, everything that was going on. The players that they brought in, was it an all-in move or was it trying to cover up something? So right now, antennas are up on Philadelphia, question marks are up, and we are going to keep our eye on them because they don't have an easy game coming up this week, I don't think. Well, not as easy as you would think. Let's get the Gravediggers. So right now, I think we have 12 teams gone. The Bears, the Cardinals, the Commanders, the Giants, the Packers, the Panthers, the Seahawks, and then in the AFC, the Chargers, the Jets, the Patriots, the Raiders, and the Titans. Would you like to do the honors?
Yeah, so I'm gonna stick in the AFC here, and I'm gonna eliminate the Pittsburgh Steelers here. I just think it's time after what we've seen the last few weeks, what's going on there. The offense just this is one of the worst Tomlin-led teams we've seen in quite some time. I think they finish under 500. That's my prediction, and I just think I think yeah, they just with Buffalo and Houston still in front of them, and then Denver tied with them. I see them as the weakest link.
I, they really had a chance to be a 10-win team this year. They fumbled the bag over these past 3 weeks, and because they did and who they did it to, I would have to agree with you. They were my AFC team for the week. My NFC team of the week was the Atlanta Falcons. You are tied for first in your division coming into week 15. You're playing a one-win team at the time in the Carolina Panthers, a division opponent, and you should have even won this game. At one point, it was 7-6, and you gave up a field goal at the end to an offense that we all know is probably the worst in the league. So Desmond Ritter could be the worst quarterback in the league right now. Bijan Robinson had 7 carries. Kyle Pitts, we know, hasn't been utilized. Drake London. I mean, I just don't know what this offense is doing out there in Atlanta. The defense has been underwhelming. I mean, they've been in it this long because the division is so ass, but it's about time Atlanta sees the door.
I agree.
Thursday night football. Two teams with everything on the line right here. Two teams at 7-7. We have the New Orleans Saints on the road at the Los Angeles Rams. How we feeling about it?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna keep this short and simple because I think this is an easy no-brainer. I mean, I like the Rams a lot. I think they're battling. I mean, I know the Saints are still battling with Tampa Bay for that one seed in the NFC South, but I think the Rams have more to prove with getting into the wild card and keeping that number 7 seed right now. This would push them to 8-7, and this would drop the Saints to 7-8. I think the Rams at home. To me, this would be a little bit more interesting if it was at New Orleans, but I like the Rams at home here. I think they're doing enough good things on defense to stop a Derek Carr led offense, and I don't think the Saints on defense have enough to stop the weapons that the Rams have.
My short answer would be the Rams. If I did give it some deeper thought, I would like to think that Derek Carr, even though as much as I don't like him, would be able to chip away and check down for long enough to keep Matt Stafford and the guys off the field. I don't
I
know. I
just
see
don't
Kamara
trust him
with
with his
maybe
turnovers.
I don't either, but I can see Kamara with 14 catches and
You
18
say that
carries.
every week.
I know you do see it every week, and you kill me in fantasy a time or two, but that's why I see it. And the defense isn't as strong as it used to be for New Orleans, and that's is why I'm leading Rams a little bit. I don't think the home field really matters with these Los Angeles teams. It's a basketball town, but I do have Rams. I agree with you there. Saturday, Cincinnati Bengals at 8-6 at Pittsburgh 7-7 AFC North battle. How we feeling here?
Easy pick, Cincinnati. The way they've been balling out with Browning at quarterback the past few weeks, and what Pittsburgh's been, you know, kind of self-sabotaging, as so to speak. I like Cincinnati here.
I agree. Just looking forward a little bit. Steelers are kind of in a situation like the Vikings are. They're going to be 8, 9 win team, maybe 10 win team if everything goes right, and you don't have a quarterback for next year, so it's kind of no man's land, and it's going to be interesting to see what both of you guys do in these next coming months here. Bills at 8-6 on the road at the Chargers 5-9. Easier than last one. I got Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah. There's with what Chargers are going through and what they're starting. I think they're starting to clean house.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting too. This might be a better offseason than last year. I don't think it's going to touch our first offseason, but it should be very interesting. Sunday, let's talk about it. 12 o'clock. Chance for history to be made. Lions at 10-4 on the road at Minnesota 7-7. Talk
I,
us through it.
I gotta keep this kind of short because I just don't see the Vikings, getting it done. It's gonna be another one of those Christmas Eve whiteout games in Minnesota and this and that. And come on, bro. I know you planned this earlier in the year where you're thinking healthy team, Kirk Cousins, JJ, all this stuff, but we've had enough go wrong this year, and it's each week it's more depressing and depressing, and I don't know, man. I think I I while I like our defense, I don't know if they have enough to keep up with the Detroit offense, and that's kind of where I lay my hat.
Detroit just beat the Broncos, a team that you lost to. I think you lost to them mainly because of their defense. Detroit does not have a defense comparable to Denver. Your offense, I feel, is good enough to compete with their defense as well. And I think you will keep it close. I think you do have a chance. Nick Mullins got his first start. This isn't a terrible opponent to go against right here. I mean, if you can keep Ty Chandler in the game, similar to the Saints, if you can keep this offense off the field, your defense is good enough to hold the Lions to 20-ish points and force a couple turnovers. At home in the whiteout Christmas game, it is 12 o'clock.
I mean, there's no excuses not to be up for this game as a team. You know what's at stake here these next 3 weeks. You win three, you win the division. I mean, to me, with all the adversity we've gone through with injuries and this and that, each and every one of these guys should want to get up and achieve that because that would mean something, and more than even a playoff win, in my opinion. This would signify that this team is doing something right in the building when it comes to culture wise and from leadership down, and it would give me a lot to be hopeful for in the future, especially with this offseason coming up. So if they can do that and achieve that, man, that would be exciting. But I think it's just you rely on history when it comes to these things, and it's just to me the Vikings in these situations have laid one too many eggs. for me in this game, I would like to have, you got to win the turnover battle, obviously, but I think we need to come away with a special teams or defensive touchdown to win this game.
I think it's possible. I do think the Lions squeak it out, but I think this is going to come down to the last possession. Packers at 6-8 on the road at the Panthers 2-12. Got to go with the Packers here. There's really no
Yeah.
question about it. But I put this one after the Vikings game because, if these go the way we predict, both teams will be 7-8 headed into their Week 17 matchup. Very interesting. A lot on the line.
Right, right, and that's because you look at the way it stands right here. The Rams beat the Saints. That would put the Rams in the sixth seed if the Vikings lose, and then the Packers win. That they're tied with us again, and it's just gonna the last 3 weeks. This is gonna be a constant moving piece with these wild card spots in the NFC.
It will be fun to watch. Cleveland Browns at 9-5 on the road at Houston 8-6. A nice battle for AFC wildcard position right here. I think CJ Stroud should be back from his concussion. We know Joe Flacco's leading the team over there, and since they're in Cleveland, the defenses on defense battle is going to be worrisome for me. I do think CJ Stroud, without some of his weapons, is going to struggle against the Cleveland Browns, and I know a lot of those weapons on Cleveland have been down on the defensive side, and that worries me a little bit for Cleveland. I do think they are going to pull this one off on the road, though. I just don't know how long they're going to be able to keep this up.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to pick Houston this week because I've been on their side of things majority of the time this year. I just after what I've been seeing from Flacco and the Browns, you cannot discount them. I mean, they battle each and every game, and while it might be one of those close, interesting games, I just think that Cleveland has enough on their side and enough going for them to get it done against Houston, and they'll be afterwards they'll be 10-5, and they'll be a shocking 10-5 because I would have never guessed this team to be 10-5 at this point in the season, heading into the playoffs, truthfully. So
With or without Deshaun, I mean, 10-5 for Cleveland. That's pretty surprising given what I thought their offense was going to look like coming into the season. Didn't think their defense would be this dominant, but yeah, they have a chance to pull it off with
mm,
the fourth string quarterback. So I mean, credit to them over there. Another surprising team, the Colts at 8-6. They would travel to Atlanta, a team we just eliminated at 6-8. So not a lot needs to be said here. I got Indianapolis.
Indy.
Seattle, a team fighting for that wild card spot in the NFC at 7-7, will travel to Tennessee, one of the tougher teams to play that aren't in playoff contention. They do have a 5-9 record with a couple upset W's. How we feeling here? It is Drew Lock still, I think.
Yeah, it is. I'm going with Seattle here. I just think that you know after what I've seen, especially against Philly with Drew Lock, I think you can't. I like I trust Pete Carroll in these late season games, playoff scenario games, and I've seen enough from Drew Lock to have confidence in him with the pieces that this Seattle team has to get it done. And like I said, they're gonna be juiced up still. They're fighting for the playoff spot. I think they know what's at stake. They'll be fighting hard, and I trust them to get it done.
Yeah, I want to pick the Titans, but you really made a good point there. You want to talk about game manager? That's all Drew Lock has to be. You have three really good receivers, even though Lockett is regressing. You have a really good running back and one of the best coaches in the league. You have to go Seattle here, but I do think this will be close. And with a backup quarterback, it could honestly go Tennessee's way. This is probably one of the worst games of the day. Commanders at 4-10 on the road at New York Jets 5-9. I do think Jacoby Brissett is going to be the quarterback. At least he was in there for that comeback last week against the Rams. And if that is the case, I'm going Commanders easy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been back and forth with this one, but I'm gonna stick with the Jets here. They're at home. I think they yeah, I know I've said it before that I think they're totally checked out for the season, but they still got a tough defense, and I think they're not gonna want to go out against a team like the Commanders when they know they got enough weapons on defense to keep that offense in check. So I'm gonna go Jets here, even though it's a risky pick.
Let's move to the afternoon. We really only have one good game here. That is the Cowboys at 10-4, traveling to Miami to play the Dolphins at 10-4. Not sure if we're gonna have Tyreek back, but either way, this should be a really good game. How you feeling?
Oh man, it's so tough. It's tough not knowing what Tyreek is, you know, if he's playing or not. That's a big thing in this game if where I go. But if Tyreek plays, I think I'm leaning Miami. I'm going to pick Miami regardless. But if he ends up not playing, I feel more comfortable going Dallas, even though they're on the road, and I think Dallas is a lesser team on the road. So give me Miami here. I think this is going to be a close back and forth game.
Given the fact that it's at home, I do kind of want to lean Miami's way a little bit. Both of these teams are fighting for not just positioning in the playoffs, but things going further than that. Both teams really need to prove themselves against another high quality opponent, I believe. Dallas, they did against Philly, but now we have question marks about Philly. Miami, I can't really say that they played anybody that I can remember who's been a high quality opponent, but I do think Dallas falls in that category. And I know Miami does play Baltimore next week, so they really can't afford to potentially lose back to back games at this point in the season, especially with how good Buffalo is playing. However, I'm going to pick Dallas, getting the upset on the road. Cardinals at 3-11, at Chicago 5-9. Man, I mean, Kyler did leave last game with an injury. I think even if he didn't, I'm going to go Chicago because, like I said last episode, they had three, four, maybe even five games where if they were just a little better, were a little smarter with the ball, they could have won those games. So Chicago's not as bad as the record might suggest, even though Justin Fields might be. But I do have the Bears in this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Chicago here just because I think it's a gonna be a cold weather game for Arizona. I think if Kyler plays, that obviously boosts their chances a little bit, and I won't be surprised if Arizona pulls it off because, I mean, they put up a good amount of points against a good San Fran team last week, and they're capable of doing some good things. They've shown it in glimpses this season, off and on, and I do think that that coach down there is putting them in the right direction to succeed eventually. So I won't be surprised if Arizona wins, but I'm picking the home team in cold weather here in Chicago.
Patriots 3-11, at Denver 7-7. Moving on.
Denver.
Which way? Which way? Okay, you feeling Denver? Shit, bro. I'm wondering if Bill can do it for me twice. They played well against Kansas City. I know the defense is legit. Russell Wilson is playing great against the Blitz this year, though. Fuck, bro. I'm gonna have to go Denver. I just, I can't put too much faith in Bailey Zappi. Even if
Denver is fighting for a lot here still. So
I agree. Monday night, Raiders at 6-8 at the Chiefs 9-5. AFC West battle. How we feeling?
I think the Raiders and Chiefs games are always kind of neck and neck most times than not. But this is Mahomes versus Aiden O'Connell, so I'm going Chiefs.
Pretty self-explanatory. Even with all the struggles, even with the 63 points put up last week by the Raiders, I just don't see that happening again. That's quite the anomaly. Chiefs are probably going to handle business similar like they did last week, 27-17 type of game. Giants at 5-9 on the road at Philly, 10-4. Now, earlier I did say this probably wasn't the toughest game, and it's not. Probably a little easier than I was thinking it was going to be. Now that I'm looking at it here, thinking about
Yeah,
it a
this
little
is this is a division game, and the Philadelphia Eagles have been embarrassed for 3 weeks in a row now, almost four. So I got to go Philly.
I have questions. If this is even close, I'm probably completely out on Philly, depending on how it looks.
I agree. Game time.
You've all been waiting for. Now, we would love to see this matchup with two healthy teams. This is a terrible time to catch San Francisco. Both teams are 11-3. Christmas Day, what a way to cap your night. You know what it is, Baltimore at the 49ers. I'm going to have to go San Francisco here, unfortunately. As much as the fan in me would like to pick the Ravens, San Francisco, they're stomping out birds right now. I think Atlanta, Seahawks, Cardinals. They beat all of them. And I think, you know, they're going to get us, and it's okay because we're going to go home. We're going to watch the film. We're going to spend time with our families. We're going to learn from this, and we will see you later.
Yeah, I'm not laughing because I think this is an easy pick. I don't think it's an easy pick at all, but I'm going 49ers here just because I think right now they are the most well-rounded, complete team in the whole NFL, top to bottom. And I think they've learned from their mistakes already and their down weeks. And so they're the most dangerous team in my opinion, while Baltimore is a close second. Now, I do think Baltimore has a lot at stake here, even though they can afford to lose this game because they've clinched already. But you don't want
And
to,
it's
you,
interconference.
right? And the only thing is, you got Miami right behind you at 10-4. If they were to beat Dallas and you lose, that's two 11-4 teams there. It's going to make for an interesting last 2 weeks of the season. So I do think Baltimore is going to put a lot of fight into this game to try to get that number one seed locked up. But I still got 49ers.
Between that Dallas and Miami game and this game, we probably have four of the top five MVP candidates. If you're thinking all quarterback, even though I put Tyreek in there and you put McCaffrey in there, but it's Purdy, Lamar, Tua, and Dak right now. Somebody's going to come out of here as an MVP candidate. So you had the Dolphins winning potentially without Tua. I mean, that would really boost that guy's stock over there. And then it's seeming like, are you leaning Purdy or McCaffrey for the big game against the Ravens, or are you kind of think it's going to be more of a balanced attack? Because I know you did say McCaffrey did deserve the MVP earlier
I
this year,
think,
but
well, here's the thing: is I think it's going to be a balanced attack. I think San Fran all the time is a balanced attack. It's just it's whoever has a big game ends up having one or two big plays on the day. And I don't know because I like you guys' defense a lot. I think you guys are a tough defense. To me, it's going to be what is Baltimore, laying out to stop for the day? Are they stopping Kittle and Debo and kind of leaving that middle open for CMC? That's one thing I've worried about you guys though is stopping the run. That worries me with CMC.
for some reason it's been a little bit of a problem as of late. You saw the Rams run all over us. Our last opponent really didn't have too much trouble running the ball. And against San Francisco, I mean, those are problems you want to fix before you face them in the run game for sure. McCaffrey's
So
on
for
for
me, I think Baltimore can do enough to fluster Purdy a little bit, but to me, I worry more about CMC. So if I had to make a prediction, I'd predict CMC has another big day to lead his team to victory, and kind of put a stamp on his 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 lobbying for himself to be an MVP candidate. But you know, I think because I just don't see. I mean, while Purdy is getting the MVP love and the MVP hype in a sense, I just don't see him being an MVP candidate in my eyes. I don't see Tua being an MVP candidate in my eyes. I really think, Lamar's deserving. Shockingly enough, you got to put Dak in there because I think this is truthfully Dak's best year as a pro. Honestly, I really do.
I agree. I think he even had a 5,000 yard season or close to it, but I think he's looked the best this year, even though he's had games like last week where he doesn't really show up. But this is probably Dallas's best chance in a weaker NFC. It's just that the juggernaut in the NFC is just so powerful.
Yep.
I don't even know if the best team in the AFC can really compete, but we're gonna see.
Yep.
We're gonna see. And like you said, man, if we take away McCaffrey, which I think would be a good key to the game because our pass rush is so dominant, they get rid of the ball so quick. And oh, by the way, they have the best left tackle in the league. Probably not going to get too much pressure off that side. So finding ways to beat this team is going to be tough. And I know they had their little skid, but they might only lose 3, 4 games this year. And I don't think this will be one of them, unfortunately.
But regardless, though, this is the one game I'm so excited for this week, and you're gonna be tuned into every single snap. Like the other, obviously, I watch my Vikings because they're playing a division rival in Detroit, and that'll be a game that they should get up for. But I mean, to cap off Christmas night, what better game could you have?
Not to mention, they did us a favor. The Giants and Eagles games before this shouldn't be too entertaining. while the Lakers play the Celtics.
Yeah,
So we can
exactly.
have back and forth between sports. I get to watch my Lakers beat your Celtics, and then hopefully my Ravens can pull off the upset. But that's it for me on Week 16. I think we're in for a doozy. What a
We
nightcap!
are. Yep, that's it for me as well. And yeah, until next time.
Until next time, we appreciate y'all. Peace.